Coffee Talk. We're so glad that you guys are here, and we have our coffee. I hope you do too. Shout out to Village Pediatrics.
Yep.
In Seattle.
Yep. Oh my goodness, it's been a week. So this week we spent a lot of time on the page talking about mood and depression, and I don't, we don't want to scare anybody, and we don't want to sit here and talk about kind of negative things, but we think it's really important to talk about things that matter and things that you may experience or are experiencing now, and our experiences in this kind of department. So today we're going to spend a little time talking about our personal experiences with postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety or postpartum mood disorder. There's lots of names.
Yeah, and like Crystal said, we don't want to scare you, but we want to be honest. This is, we want to maybe share with you things that nobody told us, and we had to find out the hard way. I moved when my oldest was 2 weeks old. We moved from one place to the other, and didn't know a single soul. My husband had to go to work, got there on a Friday, tried to find a house. My husband had to go to work on Monday. And I was a little bit like, whoa, what happened to myself now? I have this brand new baby that I'm not really sure what to do with, and I have no friends, and I didn't have any support at home, really. And so it was definitely a challenging situation. And thankfully, I didn't have a disconnect at that time with my baby, but I did feel like I had a disconnect with the rest of the world. I just did not want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. I was overwhelmed and kind of cried a lot.
Aww. But it's true because, moving is already one of the top 5 most stressful things that can happen in your life. And then 2, having a baby. And then just add a baby on top of that. And super stressful. So you're already, your hormones are going crazy, and then you're moving to a new place, and your husband's going to work, and you're stuck at home, and then you don't know anybody, and then why would you go anywhere? It's kind of like, great, I have this new baby, and I feel frumpy, or whatever, however you feel.
Yeah.
You don't feel like it's a great time to go make new friends, right?
Right, yeah, and maybe you've lost confidence in yourself because you now have this beautiful baby, but maybe you worked up until having the baby, and now you're kind of like, ooh, who am I? What's my identity? I'm a mom, but I used to be, this, whatever you did before you had your baby, so it's different for everybody. I definitely had a little bit of that, loss of identity, even though my job now, I know that my job that wasn't my identity, but it took me a little bit to figure that out.
Well, it's hard. It's a big transition. You go from doing one thing to this other thing, and then this little baby is relying on you, and then you need to be mentally healthy to provide for a baby and to provide for yourself in the sense of self-care. Yeah. It can just kind of all spiral out of control because we know that exercise and eating right and those things are really helpful, but I don't know anyone who wants to work out when they already feel crummy. So,
and then even right. And then after you have a baby, they tell you don't work out for 6 weeks or more.
Right.
So you can't even go that route. You can't even go to the gym and release some of that energy and feelings. So you're kind of in that, your body's not where, back to where it needs to be. Your hormones are all over the place. There's just so much that goes into it. But that being said, if you do have a good support system and you can take care of yourself, with healthy foods and community, then I think it's not easier, but it will help you walk through some of these struggles that are very real.
Very real, and I think very common. I'm just going to say, I'm pretty sure with Kate, with my first, that I was undiagnosed and had it pretty bad because the last thing I think moms want to do is go to their doctor and be like, yeah, I am really not into her. I love her. I know that, and I'm taking care of her, but we're not really, I don't think a mom ever wants to say that, because we're mommies, and that's not our job. Is to make sure our children are safe, and we know absolutely that we love them, but there's can be a big, the balance is off. And so with my first, she was a C-section, and I didn't see her for 12 hours. So that kind of chemical imprinting and that really important bonding time wasn't there. I basically had this major surgery, and then 12 hours later, she had been bathed and already fed, and they gave her to me. They said, here you go. And I'm like, wait a minute. And so from that moment on, it was a struggle. It was this, okay, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, my milk is coming in, I don't know what I'm doing, and I have this little person to take care of. So, that's the reality. Like, it's hard to say it out loud sometimes, but it's actually very good to say it out loud and move forward, because just unfortunately things didn't go as planned, and I didn't feel like I should. And looking back, I probably should have said something.
Yeah. So, a lot of people, hospitals now, the hospital that I worked at in Wichita Falls, big shout out to them, because they recognized that those first few hours of life are absolutely critical for that bonding experience. Even if you do have a C-section, many of the doctors there started practicing gentle cesareans or family-centered cesareans. There's a couple different names for them, where if baby's doing okay, mom gets to hold baby right away. Or if mom can't, dad can. Nothing, no fabric between them. And, thankfully, some of the practices in some areas of the country are starting to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those first few hours that, having baby on your chest, even if you're not breastfeeding right away.
Right.
Baby's tired. You're tired. You're
right. Just rest.
Resting
together. That bonding. It's basically like it's a primal kind of instinct of you have offspring. This is, you need to take care of baby. And this is bonding, because you need to feel that mommy protection. And like you said, you don't have to be wanting to breastfeed or breastfeeding, but just that helps even later with breastfeeding, because you're like, okay, this is what we need to do. Now we're going to make milk so that we can take care of baby. So that golden hour it's crucial, and we really need to not interrupt that, no matter what type of birth is happening. So it's amazing.
It's not necessary. I mean, your baby is not dirty. We've talked about this in another video. Your baby is not dirty. That smell of amniotic fluid, and that's comfort for baby, because that's all they've known for the last 9-10 months. And so it's comforting, and it's showing baby, this is a safe place. I have my mommy. I'm on this side of her now, but this is a place.
This is still okay. I'm safe. I'm and babies cry less when they're able to just be put directly on mom, because again, their temperature is regulated, they feel safe, they're comforted. So there's so many things that go into that, whether you have a C-section or you have a vaginal birth. That time where baby's immediately on your chest is so important. And I didn't experience that with my first, because it was a while ago, and they weren't even kind of doing that then, 11 years ago. So we've come a long way, and it's so encouraging to see that, because I think that mommies really need that time, and it really helps going forward, because that's something I've dealt with for 10, 11 years is things just feel different. So
building that relationship, you're having to start from 12 hours after she was born instead of immediately. So it's taken a little bit more work and more effort on both of your parts.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And she, like I said, she had been bathed and she had already been fed. Like, they didn't even think about, hey, well, maybe we should wait and see if mom's going to breastfeed. It was just immediately they gave her a bottle. And so we struggled to breastfeed, and we never got the hang of it. And that didn't happen for us. And I think a lot of it had to do with the way things transpired. So,
here's an interesting story. Some of you may already know that I was significantly premature all those years ago. I was born weighing 2 pounds 1 ounce, dropping to 1 pound 7 ounces, and I've gone back and read through all of my medical records from when I spent time in the NICU.
Yeah.
And the nurses always jotted down how I was much more calm. I responded better, just overall doing better when my mom was there holding me.
Aww.
And this is something that I don't know that the research really was looking for that necessarily at that time, but the nurses were jotting down everything. I mean, my medical records are like huge. But every time my mom was there, touching me, talking to me, holding me, whatever, feeding me, I was doing better. My stats were better. I was breathing better. My heart rate was better. Everything. And that, all those years ago, it just, reading through that has always stuck with me.
Right. Well, it's incredible because we know that the kangaroo care now in NICUs, most hospitals are going the way of get these itty bitty tiny, like you said, preemies on mommy because they do better. They can be hooked up to everything that they need to be, but mom can have baby, and they do better. Their outcomes are improved whenever they're able to do that more. So it's incredible. All right, so we talked about that. Let's talk about how you feel after you stop nursing. No one told me that. No one ever mentioned that, ever.
No. Well, and it was different, I think a little bit different with each kid, because for me, I didn't know, but I was hoping that I was going to have more than one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I was so young when I had Bryden that, I'd only been told, like, okay, most people, if you nurse till you're, for the first year of life, you're doing great. And, then, you can pretty much be done after the first year. There's really not that many benefits. So that's all I had in my mind, because that's what I
made it to a year.
Yeah. So I made it to a year, and, I will say that all three of my kids pretty much weaned themselves. It wasn't necessarily that I was ready to stop.
Right.
Although I will say that with each of them at different stages, I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm really ready to kind of have my body back. Right. I'm ready to, to eat what I want because I want it and not have to think about how it's going to affect my baby or whatever. But it was kind of traumatic. Like, I struggled.
It was for me. I didn't expect it at all because I, didn't do that with Caitlin and with my first. And then with the twins, we did nurse, and we nursed till 18 months, and then they kind of weaned themselves.
Right.
And after nursing 2 babies and then going to nothing, I was super depressed and I couldn't figure out why. And then I was like, oh, let's think about this. Every time you nurse, you release oxytocin, which is like an endorphin, a happy hormone, a love hormone. And now I'm not getting that daily dose of this kind of like happiness. So it was really hard. I really struggled after that. And so with the last one, I kind of knew it was coming. And I was like, I don't want to stop. I don't want her to wean because I know it's coming. And it was really hard for a couple months. So.
Yeah, I was like that with the last one too. I held on to it as long as I possibly could. Part of it goes back to that identity thing. Well, if they don't need me to feed them, then what do they need me for? And I know that sounds so silly because they need you for a lot of other things. But it's just that it's that mental shift of, oh my gosh, my baby doesn't need me to feed them anymore.
Right. That part has passed. And it's really hard because for so long you've been, a year or 2 years, whatever your case may be. It's a lot of time that you've spent in this kind of intimate relationship that is now going to change. I mean, I remember when she had her first sippy cup and she was like totally okay with it and just walked around like, hey, cheers.
Yeah.
I don't need you anymore. And I'm like, a little piece of my heart broke because that happened really fast. You're supposed to not want to do that, but fine. So those are all things that are going to play a role in your mood. And it's not just right after baby's born. It can be weeks later. And then after nursing, it can be later. So I think that that's important to talk about, as everybody, I feel like thinks, oh, well, if I don't feel that way within the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks after birth, then I'm fine. But really it can set in later, and it can definitely set in if you've been a nursing mom and you stop nursing. And that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. So I think if you're prepared,
think about it. There's so many different factors that can play a role in how you're feeling.
right.
Are you constantly surrounded by people? Do you have a good support network throughout parenthood? I mean, guys, our kids are going through different stages and phases all the time, and you think you've got it figured out, and then they change.
Yep.
And then you're like, I don't know what to do. And honestly, if it weren't for my village, my tribe of moms and honest mom talk, so that I can, the other day I was having such a terrible day that I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I'm failing at this motherhood thing, and I was able to share that and get, it's not always, you're great, I don't necessarily need the pats on the back. It's just that you're not alone. You're not the only one that feels
That's
this.
what makes it feel amazing, is to hear, oh, your kids scream all day too, or they throw temper tantrums after temper tantrums. Okay, it's not just me. Like, it's not just my parenting style that's causing this. It could just be the stage we're in, the phase of life. And hearing that from other moms is super helpful, because we're not alone.
I'm laughing right now because, can I just say, I have a 6-year-old, a preteen, and a teenager. And so I basically have like every stage of life right now, I feel like.
And I feel like the teenager is quite the...
Well, actually, to be honest, the teenager, I'm kind of like, all right, we got this. I can do this. The 6-year-old is throwing me for a loop right now. I'm like, whoa, what is going on?
Their emotions are... yeah, I know, because the twins are going to be 5, and I feel like I thought we were going to get better because we were almost 5. Oh, and no, we're like a hot mess. So yeah, I know it's.
But that's today. What's tomorrow going to bring? So it's just being able to share with someone and just say, "Whoa, today is really kicking my butt." It's huge. So I guess with all of this being said, immediately after the birth, months after the birth, years after the birth, surround yourself with people that can help you, that can just listen.
Really supportive people who will offer their nuggets of wisdom, and without judgment, and without, take it or leave it. If you want to try it and it doesn't work for you, that's great. And they're not going to be like, well, my way is the best way. Those are the type of people you want to surround yourself with. The ones that say, I've got this tip or trick, try it, see how it works for you. If it doesn't work, fine. Instead of, I know that I've had a couple experiences where it's like, well, works for me just great. So,
so there's going to be something wrong with you if it doesn't work for you.
And then you just feel worse. And we've all got unique families and family dynamics. So something that works for you may not work for me, but some of the things I've learned from you, I've implemented, and it's been great. So you just never know. And it's always nice to have people who have walked the path before you.
Yes.
And like, 1, they can tell you it's going to end, and 2, they can tell you, try this, see what happens.
So. Exactly. So I guess with all of that being said, we're here for you guys. We can do that, listening ear. If you're struggling, even if you haven't had the baby yet, and there's just emotional ups and downs, which there will be.
Yep.
Can I just say that mom guilt, that sets in like the minute you find out you're pregnant.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so if you're experiencing anything like that, then reach out, because we're here to just help walk you through, or just to listen, share, whatever it is that you need in that moment. So yeah.
Exactly.
So this was a little bit of a, mood
It was coffee talk. It was just us talking about our experiences because we want to be real and raw and honest and tell you what we've experienced because we are not perfect and we may have a little bit of a passion for birth and moms and have done a lot and actually have
a little bit of passion.
Right, a little bit, a big passion for moms and a heart for moms and birth, but we're also real people. So
yep, exactly. All right, guys. So this was Coffee Talk with the Birth Besties. Next week, don't forget to bring your mugs.
And join us so we can have a real talk with you guys.
Yeah, and if you were here this morning, post a picture of your coffee mug.
Yeah, comment below with your coffee mug picture. All right, bye.